A few years ago when I was a wholesaler or a divisional sales rep in the financial services industry, I called on an advisor who had called me for seminar support. And that was one of my roles, to provide seminar support for those people who did a lot of business with me. I really spent my budget very, very carefully. I was going to say frugally. I wasn't a pushover, and yet I was very supportive. So I go into this gentleman's office who tells me he does millions in mutual funds, and he's sitting in a cubicle. He has egg stains from the sandwich he ate about an hour before we met. His nails probably hadn't been cut in 5 weeks. Hands were dry, cracked, looked terrible. Hair was a mess. And I knew right away that he was really not being honest with me, because I was distracted. So my point in this video is to help you avoid distractions. It's really important to have your nails done, especially if you're going to be getting close to the client and writing something on paper or drawing an illustration, because people love stories and like visuals, right? So always make sure your hair looks good, you look professional, your clothes fit, they're pressed. I know these are basics, and yet I still have to share them because it's not being done by so many salespeople. So that's really important. Nails, hair, clothes. You should look sharp. Almost like you're going on a job interview back in the day. You always want to look sharp. The other thing I notice is tone and pace. If I'm a fast talker and I'm in Boston or New York or Chicago and I'm really talking quickly, you need to match that tone as well as that pace. If I'm in Tennessee or Kentucky or Louisiana and I'm speaking with people in that area, I just need to throttle it down a little bit and speak the way they are speaking. Now, that is not changing my personality. That's just adjusting the way we flow. So if you're more aware of that, you'll find you can create congruency very quickly and work on building the foundation of that relationship. So those are a couple things. Another thing I notice right away is knowledge of the industry. How aware are they of the industry they're in? I was in financial services. I knew as much as I possibly could in the 90s, just as the internet was rolling out. I know I'm dating myself. This is going way back, right? Now, with ChatGPT and all these AI programs, you should be a student of the sport. Learn all you can about the industry. Study what's working, what isn't, what used to work really well, but it doesn't work anymore because there's a better solution. So knowledge of the industry. When your clients and prospects are talking with you, they know right away if you know the industry. What are you reading? Any good stories you can share with them that you just read in an article this week or last week that'll be applicable to their situation. Makes a huge difference. What about your attitude? Now, granted, I understand not everybody is going to be positive, and yet in sales, you don't want to be negative. You don't want to be a negative Nelly whining and moaning about everything that's wrong. I'm not saying you have to walk in feeling like a ray of sunshine. And yet, you should have a pretty good attitude about life, about sales, about consulting, about your prospect or your client. You should have a good attitude about that. Because I think of the thousands of people who did business with me, the vast majority had a good attitude. Again, not pie in the sky, hey, rainbows and unicorns, whatever they say, and balloons. But they had a good attitude about life. They really enjoyed their work. They enjoyed their family, if that was applicable. And they also watched for that in me. So keep that in mind. How good are you about product knowledge? Can't you tell right away? I walked into Best Buy to get a cable, HDMI cable for a new TV we had. And I asked a gentleman, a young man, will this cable work on my new TV? And I explained the details, the model, the brand, everything else for the smart TV. He said, well, it should be fine. Now I'll ask you, if somebody said it should be fine, What are the two red flag words? Should and fine, as well as the hesitation. So you probably can guess I did not buy that cable there. I went to a store down the road where I spoke to an expert who said, yes, actually this is the cable you need instead of the first one you asked about. And here's why. And they knew their products and they knew the industry. Makes a big difference. I'm going to give you a couple more that I'm just personally so in favor of. Always arrive 15 minutes before an appointment begins. Always. I have seen way too many sales reps, as well as speakers like me, show up at the last moment and they're rattled and things aren't the way they wanted them to be for the meeting. You know what? Too bad. When I'm presenting on a Wednesday, I fly in or drive in on Tuesday and I rehearse in that room. And when I get up on the next day to give a presentation, I have a good feel for the room because I've been there. I just spent 2 hours rehearsing there. Even if it's a one-on-one appointment, I don't care if you're going to see a dentist. And especially in business, always be 15 minutes early. If you are presenting ideas and solutions and talking about product, as well as asking clients their background, their goals, their history, and as well as some of the things that are troubling them, you should really rehearse that. I'd rehearse the day before, and I'd videotape just like I'm doing right here. If you want some of the information on how to put a phone up on a tripod with a phone holder that you can get on Amazon, call me. I want to be your resource. I've been doing this a long time. I really enjoy helping other salespeople excel at what they're doing. And when you record these presentations, I want you to notice how many ums, how many uhs. Yes, there may be a lot. If you're newer to sales and presentations, there are going to be a bunch. The other thing I hear a lot of people say is using the word like. Well, like, you know, I showed up at this client appointment yesterday and like they're late and like I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, I got to get going. End it. Remove the likes, the ums, and the ahs. And you'll sound more intelligent. So I think you are more intelligent. It's just that we've fallen into some habits. All right, the finale. You should always, for every meeting, have an agenda written out, typed out, that you give to the client or prospect at that time or even a couple days earlier. Here's how I use an agenda. Now, I'm talking about this because I have met hundreds of salespeople to this day in 2026 who don't have an agenda. And I'll ask them, what's your plan? You know, I'm just going to see what we talk about and kind of go with the flow and see what happens. Every important meeting has an agenda. So I encourage you, draft one out. When I would send one to a client or a prospect a couple days before, I'd say, Julia, here's our agenda, just to keep us both on track. And if you'd like to add anything to the agenda, please feel welcome to do that. Because I want to cover everything and anything you want to cover. If it's important to you, it's important to me. So always have an agenda. Oh, one final thing. I've got to throw this in. I added this because I heard a lot of my competitors were not doing it. On my voicemail, when you called my phone in the 90s, as well as today, it would say, I'm in a meeting right now, and please leave a message with a name and phone number, and let me know what you're calling about. And I promise to call you back within 3 hours. Yes, 3 hours. And I generally call them back within 1 hour. And so many of my clients would say, wait a minute, nobody returns calls this quickly. How do you do it? And my response was this: if you're calling me, it's because you need me and you need something quickly. And I want to be that resource to get that done. That should do it. I hope that helps. Please share your feedback and I appreciate it.